And hello. How's everybody? Okay, look, my stupid iPad. It's my fault. User error. I'm not going to say it's the stupid iPad's fault.
It's like once every other day it does that.
It's my fault. It's my fault. Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm Amy Beth Shaver. Allison Sinclair. Hold on. Good morning, JP.
Good morning. Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
Since apparently I was saying it wrong.
Buenos dias, everybody. So hold on. I'm going to come back to that because that's funny. But Allison Sinclair is getting her hair done. And do we know why? Because she won the Yellowhammer bracket and she won our bracket.
Ooh.
From here on, though, when she wins brackets, she gets to take the day. JP, well, you're going to have to train somebody for next year when you win the bracket. No. I don't ever see myself being in the driver's seat on that, okay? Because I am captain and chief and CEO of Overthinkers Anonymous, so I'm never going to win the bracket. But Sinclair is out getting her hair done. I was going to say hair did, but it drives my husband crazy, so I'm going to use proper English and say hair done. She'll be back tomorrow, but it is Thursday, and we're going to have a glorious Thursday, not just because it's beautiful outside, but because we have a lot to cover. One of the things we're going to cover that JP and I were already talking about is who knows what's going on with Iran. We're going to talk about it. He has a banger of a montage. It's Thursday, so that means it's the plunge. And we are going to talk about a conversation or a subject. JP, I can't wait to talk about it because it is the heart and soul of what we do, which is, and here's the problem. Nobody knows who to listen to anymore. And there are certain news organizations committed to not telling the truth, but there are too many people turning to these sources, completely biased. We've got the receipts in that regard. And so we're going to talk through what is true. How do we know? What do we do about it? That is the plunge topic. And all sorts of other kind of merriment, starting with two things. Number one, JP, in honor of you, I have a quote for the day. JP has this story because this is a big deal. There's an anniversary today. Okay. All right. Also for the fun and merriment category, did you see that Canadian thing I sent you? Because I had a child send that to me. It was so sad. I didn't know if it was for Clown World or for today.
Yeah, I was going to save it for Clown World tomorrow, but we can play it today.
Listen, it's totally fine. Here's our quote for the day. Here's the thought. All right, just lock this in. G.K. Chesterton. A civilization, and we've said this before, but we're going to go back to it because it's true. A civilization is not destroyed by wicked men. It is destroyed by weak men who cannot defend what is good. Mm-hmm. And then the question becomes, what is good? Understanding that our principles, if you go down the rabbit trail, it's actually not a rabbit trail. If you go down the path and go backward in our history and find out what is good and true, you will understand everything in society, even from Hammurabi's code, is based on biblical principles. So when we ask what is good, it is what God says is good. That is what is good. That is the standard. That is what we base everything off of. So when you ask yourself in your mind, what is good? What does God say is good? It's really simple. It's just that we don't live like that anymore. So a weak civilization is not destroyed by wicked men. It is destroyed by weak men who cannot defend what is good. And so jumping off of that, in the second half of today's show, we're going to talk about media bias. And in that conversation about what is good, then we have to ask what is true. and we will deal with that. Adding into that conversation is the anniversary that JP is going to tell us about. And it's something that we're not great at, because if we clung to biblical principles, we could celebrate people in history with whom we have disagreement without saying they're terrible humans. There's good and bad in everybody. But there are people in our historical past that deserve and should be celebrated because of their mind, because of their actions, because of their bravery, and you don't have to like them. See, we've decided in this culture, we have to like people. And liking them means we agree with everything they say or do. Am I wrong? And that's not the way it goes. You can appreciate the principles of, you can appreciate maybe an office they hold. It does not mean you like them. It means you are wise enough to know, I appreciate that, even if I don't agree with X, Y, and Z. We've been able to do that for centuries, but apparently now we can only stand up for people we like. But today's a really big day in our history.
It is.
And so we have to continually ask what is good and what is true, and we cling to that. And this guy, these men were good and true, even if we had significant differences with them. Okay, let's cling to what's true and then leave the rest behind. But this is a really big day. And these guys both are some of my, he loves history. Why don't you tell us who these people are, JP? What happened today?
Yeah, today is actually the 161st anniversary of Robert E. Lee surrendering the Army of Northern Virginia to Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, effectively ending the Civil War. I mean, the war technically fought on a couple of months after that, but that was effectively the end of the Civil War when Lee surrendered his army to Grant. Grant was pursuing him all the way to Appomattox slowly. It's like Lee was bleeding along the way with his army, and then finally, surrender. But the face of the South of Lee, surrendering was effectively the end of the Civil War. I love portraits, though. I feel like the saying "pictures say 1,000 words" is really true. But this one is one of my favorite portraits of when Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant. Everything in this picture. First of all, Grant showed up with mud all over him. Yeah, as you can see in the picture, he's got mud all over his boots. His uniform is super casual. He was working out in the field. And then you look on the contrast, and Lee is like in top down, perfect uniform. He's got his sword alongside him, his gloves. He was the chivalry of the Confederacy. And that actually tells kind of the story of the whole war, of the military genius that was Lee, and then Grant, who was sort of a ragtag, I'm just going to figure it out and do whatever it takes sort of guy. But the men in the background that are like looking in awe as if they're seeing something historical, and they're shaking hands to end the Civil War. That's just one of my favorite portraits. I saw this.
That's beautiful.
I saw this quick little excerpt about the surrender. If I could read this real quick. Says Grant quickly outlined his terms. The officers and men surrendered to be paroled and disqualified from taking up arms again until properly exchanged, and all arms, ammunition, and supplies to be delivered up as captured property. Next, Grant set down his terms in writing. There was the matter of horses. Would the men be permitted to retain them? Asked Lee, but then Grant, seeing how much the request meant to Lee, promised to let the men who claimed to own a horse or mule take the animals home with them to work their little farms. Lee was relieved and grateful. This will have the best possible effect on the men, he said. It will be very gratifying and will do much toward conciliating our people. In Grant's generosity, Lee saw not a vindictive but compassionate conqueror. Robert E. Lee knew the South had fallen, even though combat might sputter on until May 26th. The fighting soul of the South died with Lee's signature on that Palm Sunday of 1865. After he signed, Lee arose and shook hands with Grant. He bowed to the others in the room and strode silently out the door. On the porch of the McLean house, he paused to draw on his gauntlets. Twice, with slow and savage ruefulness, Lee drove his fist into his palm. Then, calling for a traveler in a hoarse and choking voice, he mounted and rode out of sight. But here's the part that I love. because on the porch afterwards, the Union soldiers started to cheer like the war was over. They won, and they were celebrating in front of Lee. Grant put an end to that and told them not to do that. And is actually after the fact, when he was recalling this story, he said, "They were now our countrymen," he recalls. "We did not want to exult over their downfall." So even in the moment when the biggest victory of Grant's life and the war being over, even Grant, I believe actually the Union men actually saluted Lee as he rode off as a sign of respect. And that like tells the whole war, honestly. Like even the men who fought the Confederates respected Lee and the Confederacy after defeating them. They're now our countrymen, and we can move on and salute and not to celebrate in front of them. I don't know. It's just one of the coolest stories altogether of, Lee in his top to bottom, perfect uniform, accepting defeat and riding off on his horse, realizing what had happened. But then Grant, covered in mud, who had just conquered and won it all, even in respect, they respect each other as they ride off. It's one of my favorite portraits and stories of the whole war. But yeah, that's 161 years ago today.
Wow.
That happened.
Wow. That's significant. And I'm glad you shared it. But wow. There's so many things that can accompany that, but both men were remarkable.
Yeah.
Truly remarkable. One of the pastors in my life growing up was a relative of Robert E. Lee, which I think is super cool. But then there's also parts of our past, and the rest of the world has been able to do that people won't let go of. And that's the part where you got to go, you guys, that was 161 years ago.
Yeah. And the men who actually fought those men that you hate did not feel the way you felt.
That's right.
It's interesting.
It is. And so that's where you get back to that question, what is good and what is true and what is right? And that's what we have to be about. So those are our thoughts for the morning. What do you think about what we just said? Would love your opinion, because we are going to do a better job of continuing to listen to y'all, because you're smart and we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate your thoughts. So keep them coming to us today, just like you have all week on this glorious Thursday. Especially let us know about an anniversary like today, but also when we get to the plunge, tell us your thoughts. There's a lot of thoughts. And then JP, I guess we will have to save the Canadian person. I couldn't even wrap my brain around it when Emmy sent it to me. I'm like, what in the world is going on? So you have to tune in tomorrow to find out this piece of ridiculousness. It has to do, well, you're just going to tune in tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say about it. Do you want to, I'm clicking on the Twitters. You want to nose around and see what's going on and trending in Twitter before we do our montage? Is that okay?
Yeah, let's
okay, cool.
Let's go over to Twixland.
And first up, everyone, good morning from Thursday at the Masters.
I was about to say, today's the Masters starting. Yeah.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning from the Masters. I don't know how they grow their azaleas. I think it's probably why they're so successful, and their success in a beautiful golf club means they have a lot of people to take care of the azaleas and the grass. And it's like a work of art. Every turn, every place you see them teeing off, like it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But could somebody tell me how year after year you have azaleas that are beautiful? Mine are on spindly legs, and they're just a little bit at the top. They're kind of like an older fella that hasn't quite gotten used to this idea that maybe we should just shave our head, because there's just a little bit of flower left. That's all. Yeah. And I got these leggy, branches or whatever, they're vines. I don't even know. Mine looks so ugly. We're going to hack them and replace them with lilac, which is great. But I look at the Masters and I think, oh, this is such a lovely week food for the price it was, I think, in 1973.
Mhm.
If I'm correct, you can get yourself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You can actually afford to go just to get the food because you're never going to get a ticket. But then I look and I go, dear Lord, I'm pretty not good at a lot of things, but could you just maybe help me learn to be good at gardening? I feel like a failure when I look at those azaleas.
No,
Do you know what I'm saying?
That is the tip top. The Masters, even when I watch sports, I'm kind of getting to the point with sports where I really just like to watch my teams play. Like I don't really like to watch many sports just to watch the sports. Like if it's not my team and I'm invested, I don't really like to watch much anymore. But with the Masters, it is one of the most aesthetically pleasing events just to watch. Like
it's gorgeous.
You're like in between shots, you're not like on your phone, like just the whole setting, the views, the course. It is just, and then Jim Nantz commentating just like this from the Masters.
JP, should we do something from the Masters? Should we do that? Can we read some things in Jim Nantz voice?
We could read these headlines in Jim Nantz.
Oh, let's read the headline. Let's read the headlines in a Jim Nantz voice. Okay.
Top story on trending on news.
Okay.
Conservatives question U.S. aid to Israel amid Trump-Iran threats.
You don't say.
Prominent figures like Tucker Carlson urged ending American military and economic support to Israel, criticizing its actions like the, quote, eternal darkness strike in Beirut that killed hundreds of Lebanese civilians. Marjorie Taylor Greene on Alex Jones' show accused the GOP of being controlled by AIPAC and Zionists while questioning Trump's recent threats against Iran, including warnings that a whole civilization will die tonight unless demands were met.
JP, that's so interesting.
I'm sorry, I find this picture of Tucker funny.
Hold on, I gotta find it. Now where'd my trending go? Excuse me, I'm out of voice. Let me go back to voice. Okay, JP on mine. Also, I see that Delta Force. I don't even know what that means. I'm going to click on it because clearly my Twitter is different than yours.
It is. It's a unique your algorithm gives you your news.
Okay. Well,
allegedly.
Apparently, Army veteran faces federal charges for transmitting Delta Force secrets to journalists. I don't know if you saw the story, but a lady named Courtney Williams, and my favorite spelling of Courtney, with a Courtney, a U.S. Army Special Operations veteran, was charged on Wednesday for allegedly transmitting classified national defense information to journalist Seth Harp. Did you like that break that I like?
Yeah, it was good.
Seth Harp. There are a lot of things in this allegation. Basically, she's in trouble. What else you got, JP?
Let's see. We got, there's that story on my trending right there, actually.
Okay, that's because I said it, and the AIs have decided that you should see it too.
Let's see. What's another good one here?
Oh, JP, this is for you. Apparently, people are saying Teddy Roosevelt would be ashamed because I think they're comparing Teddy Roosevelt and Trump. And trending on mine is people are saying, no, Teddy Roosevelt was better. What else you got?
NDP MP Leah Gazin accused Prime Minister Mark Carney's government of cutting $7 billion from indigenous services while ignoring violence against. Oh, that's
I got for tomorrow.
I got to this part and I was like, oh, okay.
You guys won't believe it. Stepping up to tee off into crazy people land is one of the stories we have for tomorrow on Clown World. And let me tell you, she nails it, but not in a good way.
Not in a good way at all.
Also, her bangs look a little like witch bangs. So you should probably know when she steps up to tee off with her very expensive driver, it's not going to go well. You won't believe what we're going to tell you. Okay, JP?
Oh, this is an interesting one. Florida GOP hopeful Fishback pulls second amid fake likes scandal. Have you seen this?
No, sir, I haven't.
A Public Sentiment Institute survey of 112 Florida Republicans showed U.S. Rep. Byron Donald at 28 and Fishback at 14, with Fishback dominating amongst voters 25 or younger at 81%. Hours later, documents from a Manhattan federal lawsuit against Fishback exposed 2024 texts where he instructed his now campaign treasurer to buy 350 likes for an ex post, craft fake emails criticizing Greenlight's David Einhorn and tip media outlets. The exchanges predating his campaign launch drew online mockery like complete con artist, while Fishback quoted a poll skeptic saying he should not be at 14% and added, "Here come the crash outs." With high undecideds and 44 candidates in the 44 candidates are in the race.
Is that real?
That's
Is that real, JP?
In the race to replace term-limited Governor Ron DeSantis, the field remains wide open.
Kind of like at the Masters. That's pretty good. That's good. All right. That's way too much fun.
That is.
I know Jim Nance doesn't mean to talk like that, but do you all feel the same way that we do, that you click on your TV because for the rest of the week, well, actually, we are going to Parents Weekend 40. But if I were home, the TV would be on and the Masters would stay on while it's on TV. And part of it is just to hear Jim Nance say, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen, from the Masters." You know, that kind of thing. Who knows what he actually says, but it's just so comforting. Oh. Friends. Hello, friends. We're live from the Masters at Augusta National. Our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are 75 cents. The grass is green and the drives are spectacular. The crowds are beautiful. The little signs they hold up are pointed backwards again. Who will win? I can't. But I do. I keep it on to hear his voice.
Yeah, it is.
I keep it on.
That's perfect.
Chris and his dad got to go years ago.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
They had passes. I don't know if they went Wednesday or Thursday, but you know, you get them, and this family had them, and they were tucked in a secret hideaway spot. So even to get them from this person's house was like cloak and dagger. And then you had to go put them back the day that you used them, and then you had to put them back because they were going to be used by somebody else the next day. He said Tiger was still really worth watching. He's like, it's one of the best days of my whole life to be there and to be with his dad.
Yeah, I bet.
Unbelievable. I think at one point Chris did lean back and they had to tell him to sit up.
That's funny.
But I'm like, you do that all the time. So yeah, they want you to be.
Oh, the other part that I love about the Masters is no phones.
Brilliant.
No cell phones.
Do you think they're putting them in Faraday bags, or do you think they just leave them in the car and bye-bye?
I think you leave them in the car. I think they check when you come in, but that just adds to the whole, like, I would give everything to take my phone away and just put me on the Masters for a day where nobody can.
Oh, it's a dream.
Yeah. And they've got the like toll phones that if you need to in an emergency.
Really?
Yeah, there's pictures of like people at the toll phones to like call their family, whatever. But yeah, no phones are allowed, which is awesome.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
So that's like whenever you see other golfing events and whenever they're shooting in front of you, everybody's like, and not watching.
Instead of like watching them tee off.
When you're at the Masters, everybody's locked in. It's like, that's how it should be. It's
I
almost
love
like
that.
another world.
If only we were so lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right, then. Okay, guess what? On the other side, we have the montage. A lot of news. Great convo. Stay where you are. We'll be right back. Me, Beth Shaver, with Allison Sinclair. And we are joined by Admiral Brian Christine, who is the Assistant Secretary for Health at HHS. And it is a thrill and it is an honor, sir, to have you here. Thank you.
Oh, it's a privilege to be here. It is so fun to have come back home to Sweet Home, Alabama, to come see my family and to do this, to work with y'all, to do this podcast to help get the messaging out that we need to, so the American people know the good things that we're doing in Washington, the good things that Secretary Kennedy and President Trump are doing. And so as we start off, I have to give a shout out, obviously, to our president and to Secretary Kennedy, because they are working so hard to make this country healthier than she's ever been, to make Americans stronger than we've ever been, to make America great again. So thanks for the opportunity.
So before we jump into those values issues and talking about making our country healthy again, which is such a relief, could you tell those who may not know you or have heard about you, because you are a legend, a little bit about your background?
Sure.
As we jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born, my father was in the Army. I was born in what used to be West Germany. Now, if you're old enough like me, you remember that one time there was an East and a West Germany during the Cold War. My father was a tanker. In other words, he was in armor in the Army, tanks. And we had a lot of armor assets deployed along the East-West border during that time. I was born in 1963, really the height of the Cold War. So I was born in West Germany. My father ultimately went Special Forces. In his second tour of Vietnam, he was really severely injured, lost an arm and a leg, got out of the military. We ultimately settled in Augusta, Georgia, had some family there. I went to medical school at Emory in Atlanta, and then I came over to UAB for my residency. And that's how I got to Birmingham. I did my residency in urologic surgery, completed my residency, and then I joined a urology group here in Birmingham. And I practiced with that group for 24, 25 years, really subspecializing in men's health. That was kind of my gig. Then I got the call for the nomination to be the Assistant Secretary for Health from President Trump. Went through the confirmation process. Ultimately was confirmed by the Senate. I was confirmed into this position last November. And here you are. So now I'm in Washington as the Assistant Secretary for Health.
Were you expecting that call? I mean, how does this happen?
Yeah,
you're just like
that's a great
Brian
question.
Christine in Birmingham, Alabama, and you get a call that you're the next Rachel Levine. What's her boy name?
Richard.
Richard Levine. Richard Levine.
You're
That's
Richard.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes, I am President Trump upgrade from Richard Levine.
We would say
there
so.
you
We're
go.
very grateful
Yes,
for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I really think, listen, I think one of the reasons that President Trump nominated me and that Secretary Kennedy wanted me in the position is because I practiced medicine on the front lines. I was kind of a Main Street doctor. And I think they liked the idea of having someone who really understood medical care and delivery from a Main Street level. I think also one of the reasons that President Trump wanted me in this position, because there's really not another visual that shows the difference between the horrible Biden administration and the really righteous and good Trump administration, and the fact that you have me in the same position as Levine. I'm a man who wears men's clothing, and that really says all you need to know about the last administration and this administration. For sure.
I always thought he could have done a better job, like zhuzhing it up a little bit. Like it was like he put on some earrings and a dress, and that was it. Like, but we can work a little harder. But I think America, the juxtaposition is overwhelming from what y'all are doing versus what he was doing.
Well, no, exactly. When you look at Levine, I mean, again, his agenda was no question about it. The transgender and minors agenda was so important for him. All he wanted to do was to tell little boys they could be little girls, little girls they could be little boys, and then recommend castrating surgeries, castrating chemicals, hormones, and do irreversible harm to these kids. So if you go back and look at what he talked about, mostly that was it. I mean, Levine advocated for removing any kind of age restriction on transgender treatment in kids. He advocated for those sex-rejecting surgeries. That's what we call them. People say transgender surgery. No, in this administration, we talk about sex-rejecting surgeries and procedures because that's what they are. And that was his big focus, right? I personally believe he was in that position as a statement. I personally believe he was in that position to be an eyepiece, not because he really cared about the health of the country. So I'm really happy to be in this position to be able to reverse and to right so many of the wrongs that the last administration and Levine, perpetrated on the country.
So in this position, you're able to do a lot of good. Could you talk to us about your roles and responsibilities?
Sure. As the Assistant Secretary for
Hello, and welcome back to The Right Side. I am Amy Beth Shaver with JP. We hope you're having a great day so far and looking forward to a glorious weekend. Want to know your thoughts today. But before we do anything else, JP, take it away.
Black for News.
Negotiations are set to start in Islamabad, Pakistan. This is the situation. The Strait of Hormuz right now appears to be closed. Additionally, the atomic energy chief for Iran says that they will continue to enrich uranium in direct contradiction to what President Trump said yesterday. And just moments ago, Iran's president Masoud Pezeshkian said the negotiations will be meaningless if the Israelis continue their operation against Hezbollah.
And Israel is stronger than ever. This is the bottom line of this campaign up until now. Let me say, there are still additional objectives for us to achieve, and we will achieve them either by agreement or by resumption of the fighting.
Iranian General Qasem Soleimani is apparently not happy with her new digs at an ICE detention center in Texas after a life of luxury she enjoyed in Los Angeles. She's reportedly called her former boyfriend for help to escape the facility.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett, filling up with gas. I was going to either send my daughter to school for a year, buy a cup of coffee, or fill up my dadgum car with gas. I mean, it's pathetic. And then they'll say I thought you were a capitalist, man. This is all about capitalism. No, it isn't. Heck, no, it isn't. Capitalism isn't about subsidizing with billions of dollars the oil industry, which we do, giving them tax credits, which we do. Capitalism is about somebody getting out there and compete. This is not competition. This is a gross misuse of power and greed.
Can I just say the best part of that video is that these cars pulling up beside him, like blasting rap music while he's trying to talk into the camera. So even the representative of Congress, Tim Burchett, is having to fill up his car with gas while somebody's blasting rap music at the pump next to him. It's like they're just people too.
Yeah,
it's funny.
That's great.
But yeah, that's perfect.
All right. So let's discuss. Because my favorite part is one of the last stories when we're talking about the Middle East situation. But what does anybody know what's actually happening in Iran with the U.S.? Because I understand there's supposed to be a ceasefire, but Iran is still flash firing on certain countries. And what is it? Lebanon was not part of the deal, but they're still having their way. So they're still being who we know they are. But now what are we going to do about it? And what's actually going on, JP?
So I'll give a quick timeline of what's gone on since the alleged ceasefire was agreed to Tuesday night. So Trump announces that a ceasefire has been agreed to Tuesday night. I believe it was an hour and a half or so before the deadline when Trump claimed he was going to wipe out Iran. Iran then comes out with this 10-point plan of what the U.S. has agreed to. The strait is now open. We'll be charging tolls and such to help reconstruct, but the strait will be open besides that. And this is all of the plans that the United States just agreed to. And that's the plans we, read out yesterday, because that's the ceasefire that was out there. Mm-hmm. And, it had all the 10 points, and it was much, much larger and bigger than just a 2-week ceasefire. But that's what they claimed the U.S. agreed to. It was later that night, Israel and Iran are firing strikes back and forth with each other. By the way, let me pause real quick and explain this part of it. Israel was not actually part of the ceasefire agreement. It was the United States and Iran via Pakistan. Pakistan was the mediator. So Iran was talking to Pakistan. U.S. was talking to Pakistan, not directly with each other. And there's also reports that China got involved towards the end to help get the ceasefire across the finish line. That is the reports out there. So Israel was not even at the table during this ceasefire. So it is soon after that where the United States claims Lebanon was never a part of this ceasefire. That was never part of the agreement. And it was actually after Israel started to continue their strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon, because this is the aspect of it not enough people are talking about. I believe I saw a report that Israel had taken up about 12% of Lebanon in this war with Hezbollah. So they have been going hard at Hezbollah and Lebanon during this war with Iran. So Israel, after this ceasefire comes out and they weren't at the table with all this, and it's alleged that Israel, a part of the deal was that Israel would stop its war with Hezbollah, and they were like furious. They were pissed. It was like, we didn't agree to that. We weren't at the table. And by the way, now that, just to show you we didn't agree to it, here's the biggest strike of the war. Israel launched a strike that killed 182 people at least in Lebanon. So after this happened, after Israel started to attack Lebanon, the U.S. is saying, we never agreed to include Lebanon. And actually, that proposal that Iran gave, Trump threw it in the trash. We didn't agree to that. And it was like this big bravado after Israel had started to strike Lebanon. So Iran then goes, yeah, you did. You did agree to stop hostilities with Hezbollah. And you did agree to all these other points in the plan. But you know what? Now that you've done this, Strait is closed. Talks are over. It's done. Ceasefire is done. And it's amazing because on the United States front, you got Caroline Leavitt, who goes to the press room and is asked by someone after claiming that Trump threw the plan in the trash. They go, is the Strait open? What's the current state of the Strait? And she goes, yes, the Strait is open, but Iran has to reopen the Strait. So you just contradicted yourself in your own statement. And we can see with the internet, the Strait is not open. It is closed effectively right now. So the Trump administration on that front was just lying. And we don't know. That's the part of it. We don't know what the actual truth is. We can see the Strait is closed. We can see that Israel's attacking Lebanon, but the ceasefire that both sides agreed to, allegedly, they can't even agree on what that is. So it's hard to find out, was there even a ceasefire in the first place? Did they agree to stop with Lebanon or not? But like I said, what we do know is the Strait is closed. Israel is still attacking Lebanon, and Iran claims that talks are done. That is what we do know.
So this is interesting. We only know what we see right now. Here's I want to get your thoughts on this. It just kind of piggybacks on what you're saying, but takes a different tack. What I started seeing yesterday, and it was a guy in Britain on one of their news services talking about what's actually going on. And I was like, well, this is interesting because I haven't really heard this fleshed out. And I haven't. And you probably have. I have not, but I want to know what you guys think. This is a guy named Alex Armstrong, and he's saying this is all working out exactly according to plan. Now, you and I are like, what plan? But here's what he puts out. And some people think. Number one, the headline for these guys is it's the end of globalism as we know it. He says, number one, and this is a guy in Britain, but he's laying it out, geopolitical guy. Iran is now choking the Strait, causing Middle Eastern oil to become less desirable. The ramifications will continue for years. Iran has attacked other Middle Eastern powers, now on edge and openly aggressive. Iran weakened enough that it can't get nukes, but not enough that it can't cause problems. Continued chaos in the Strait for the foreseeable future is bad for oil business in the Middle East, great for American oil. I'll tell you the guy's name at the end. Europe. As the energy crisis hits, and this is 1, 2, 3, as the energy crisis hits, Europe becomes more reliant on American oil and gas due to the above, the Strait, less desirable oil. Now the Strait's closed, can't get it. Good leverage for negotiating and long-term debt ceiling. I don't know. I've not even considered these things. Sort of, but not like this. China, number 3 on this guy's list. China. America is in a serious trade tariff war with China, its biggest rising global threat. 45% of China's oil comes from the strait. Venezuela's largest oil buyer was China, between 50 and 80% of their oil. Who now has the upper hand in that negotiation? Midterm, China has to play the USA's game. Again, what are your thoughts? JP, I'm almost done. Number 4, Greenland. There's 5 on this list. Greenland. NATO allies predictably failed to help, proves Trump's point that they can't be relied upon to protect Greenland. Don't forget, allies were all briefed that the war in Iran was coming. They walked into the trap. UK is a prime example. Blah, blah, blah. Number 5, South America, separate from Iran war, but part of the same plan. USA has already begun working on removing enemies and anti-U.S. regimes. See recent Shield of America's meeting, financial supporter for Argentina, Venezuela, threats to Cuba. USA is securing back garden and forcing China out permanently. This guy puts out there, if you think all that looks like America is losing, then you'll hate to see what winning looks like. Their plan is working. This is the Greater North America Project in full swing. It's part of a massive reset of the global order. What do you guys think about that? Could that be true? And the guy is on CBN News. It sounds like, I don't know where he is. He's got a great British accent. What do you think about that? Those are things, I've heard a little bit of it, but I haven't seen anybody put that into writing that clearly.
I agree with aspects of what he said. There's other aspects I think aren't telling the full picture, because you know who also is benefiting from this tremendously is Russia. Russia is benefiting tremendously from the Strait of Hormuz being shut down right now. I pull up the Council of Foreign Relations as of early 2026 is estimating they have brought in an extra $3 to $5 billion in oil revenue because now, I mean, they were sanctioned to the wazoo with oil because of the war in Ukraine. Now, with the Strait of Hormuz being shut down and so much of global oil trade being effectively shut down, now Russian oil is needed on the market. And so, sure, you can make the argument that American oil could be at higher demand now, but so is Russia. And Russia is already raking in $3 to $5 billion in oil revenue in March of 2026 alone. Another aspect of it is China is benefiting from this to a certain extent because the ships that are allowed to pass through right now are the ones that exclusively trade oil in the yuan, which is the Chinese currency. And who is best buddies with Russia is China. So China is not going to go awry without oil because Russia is their best buddy, and the ships that are passing through right now. I mean, that is effectively an attack on the US dollar, is that strait's closed except if you trade in the yuan, then you can come on through. So I get, and by the way, with the he's 100% correct about the Venezuelan aspect of it, that was such a genius decision. That's why I was all for it, because it was nothing but we were in and out, and what we accomplished with that was amazing. However, I think our adversaries benefit just as much from this in terms of their oil being in high demand. And just from the war itself, like, just think about it going into the war. And by the way, I mean, we don't get a whole lot. We get about 7% out from ABC. That's about 7% of total oil imports from the U.S. come through the strait. So, but that is enough to raise prices still, which affects the midterms. But just from a perspective of, think about it this way: before this time last year, we were having negotiations with Iran about how much their nuclear capabilities were going to be. The strait was wide open. There was no limitations on the strait. And we were talking about what their limitations would be on their nuclear program. Now our negotiations is how much of the strait will Iran control, how much they're going to be allowed to enrich their uranium. Oh, and by the way, 13 U.S. soldiers have been killed in this. And now we've got a more hostile regime in Iran because we killed the Ayatollah and they're now in power. So just from that aspect of it, it's a defeat in my opinion. So I agree with aspects of what he said, but I think the same is also true for Russia and China.
I think Russia and China, and I think what it does then for me is two things. One, highlights the need for us to get Greenland.
Right.
Because that is, if this is indeed, and that's part two, is then if this is a global reset, if this is rewriting who's not necessarily in charge, but who's going to fight for whom, and what Trump is doing with all his mastermind behind the scenes global reset plan, I can understand that, but nobody's talking about that part of it. You know, you get it in bits and pieces. But I also agree with you with what you had to say about the things that have happened. Because if we don't get Greenland, Russia and China are going to continue even more doing what they're doing. So that's what makes it important to me that I did not fully appreciate. But the Iranian part of it, closing the strait, also being good for China and Russia, is also a problem. So we're divided in where we are and what we need to do. I don't know how we do all of it. I don't. But if this was the master plan and they were keeping that under wraps, it helps a little bit to say this was kind of the plan. But who's talking about the plan?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because both things can be true. We can be for that, but we can also recognize the really bad stuff that's taken place.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. Very, very interesting.
The current sticking point on this whole thing, though, is the actions in Lebanon. And it's so bizarre because where you have China, Pakistan, and Iran that are like, yeah, you agreed to stop hostilities in Lebanon. And by the way, and Iran's saying you agreed to all these other points as well. That's why we reopened the strait. And I understand they're our adversary, but if you look at through that lens of like, if they had complete control of the strait and they reopened the strait, why would they do that unless they got what they, you know what I mean? Like, what's their motivation to do that? Where on the US side, it's like, no, we didn't actually. No, the strait's open, but not really, but they can reopen it if they want. But it's like punching jelly. It's like, what is the truth? And then whereas on the Iran side, it's like, you agreed to this, we open strait. Oh, you're not saying you agree? Okay, strait closed, over. Like, it's bizarre because it's like on our side, so to speak, it's like, and then you look at our adversaries like, well, you agreed to do in Lebanon, but okay, we'll just reshut the strait. Talks are over. It's almost like, yeah, what?
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
And it's back to, and I know we'll wrap and move on to the only bright spot to me, or maybe a bright spot. We are dealing with people who have fought each other since forever, at least 2,500 years. This is a warring people. These are the Persians we're talking about. And I don't mean the Persian people who are fighting to have decent humans lead them. I'm talking about the Arabs, because that's who is also in Iran. They fight. And when you're fighting people who are experts at fighting and negotiations, you've got to keep that in mind. We do not understand their mindset. We do not think the way that they think. And that's the glaring hole to me. Obviously, I'm not in the president's inner circle. He's not taking advice from us. We're just looking from the outside in. But that's what keeps going through my mind is we can't possibly understand their mindset. We just can't. We have a Western mind. They have an Eastern mind. I don't know how this is going to go. Now, the bright spot. This is my favorite. Because for me, it is about the people in Iran. For me, it is understanding that they are being decimated and murdered in hospital beds, women still abused, still can't uncover. I mean, it's terrible. If you're a woman over there, it's wretched. But Soleimani's grandniece gallivanting around, showing off a full Sub-Zero fridge, showing off very expensive clothes, very little clothing on, by the way, which would get you killed in Iran. Living it up. And she is now in ICE custody. And I say, JP, can you hit us with like a really good sound effect? I say, bravo.
How about that?
More of that.
It's a while since we played this one.
Go on with yourself. Your boyfriend won't even answer the phone. He said, you're crazy. Go on with yourself. Enjoy the prison that is ICE. And that's called AB Raps.
AB rap. Maybe that needs to be where half of you comes out that segment, and we make it a segment.
Stay in ICE, honey, because your countrymen and women are being decimated, and you're living it up, and you were stupid enough. I'm sorry, it was really stupid and arrogant to put it up on the interwebs so we could all see your lavish lifestyle, your partying lifestyle. And there's plenty, I saw this morning reports, plenty of Iranian elites, the ones in leadership, the family members of leadership, living up lavish lifestyles. Meanwhile, back in Iran, you make women cover up, you force people to follow your religion, and you beat them when they don't, convert or die. That's what you guys say in your book. That's not me. That's what your book says. And they're over here living it up and then criticizing the U.S. Go home, round them all up, send them back. Thank you, whoever did that. Pretty much sure it's Marco Rubio.
Yeah. Well,
because he's doing everything. Like, I know he's busy being Tiger Woods this week in the Masters, but thank you. Thank you.
It is funny to me that our adversaries, well, at least the families of the adversaries, love to live here.
It's funny.
And they don't want to live in their actual homeland. They want to live where they're actually supporting. They want to live in the United States and have
weird.
Have the benefits of that. And then when they get caught and you're not going to be here and spreading anti-American propaganda, and when you're an adversary, and they're like, now they're crying wolf. It's like, it's funny.
Please, boyfriend, answer me.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I cannot. She is crazy.
Please take her away.
Which is, I know, a Mexican accent. I still don't know. I love accents. Please understand, when we do accents, it's out of respect because we think they're awesome. We're stuck with our Alabama accent.
Yes.
And say, it'll get you so far. But if you have other accents, people take you seriously. And so sometimes we wish that we had that. Anyway, that's the bright spot out of all the conundrum of what's up with the Strait of Hormuz today. Instead of where's Waldo, we're like, where's the truth in this whole situation? That's our Waldo. But send the Iranian elites back home. Get them out of here. And then seize and sell all the stuff they own. And could you help people pay taxes with that, please? Thanks. Thank you. Okay. All right, JP.
We got about 10 seconds till the music comes, but after the break, we got some comments we can read.
Oh, sweet. I can't wait. Y'all don't go anywhere because he said we're gonna read your comments. So this is the Right Side. I'm Amy Beth. He's JP. We'll be right back.
You have kind of a 3-level role. One is to help form healthcare policy, to work across the different divisions of the Department of Health and Human Services, to work with the CDC and NIH and FDA, and work with HHS leadership to help form healthcare policy. So we help form the policy. We help implement that policy. There's also a communication role, which really appeals to me, in that we help to communicate the policy to healthcare establishments, healthcare providers, and to the country at large. Okay, the Surgeon General falls under the Assistant Secretary for Health. So when we have our new Surgeon General in, And I'm happy to say that Dr. Casey Means will be having her hearing before the Senate on the 25th of this month, I believe. She'll be an amazing Surgeon General. We're going to work so well together. But together, we'll be advancing the message of the Department of Health and Human Services and President Trump to the American people. So there's that communication aspect to the role. And then also, the Assistant Secretary for Health can serve as a civilian, or they can do as I did, which is request commission from the president. So I have been commissioned as the senior admiral at the Public Health Service, specifically the Commission Corps. So you have the U.S. Public Health Service, and then you have something called the Commission Corps, and these are commissioned officers. I'm a 4-star admiral. I lead the Commission Corps, and so one of the other roles I have is as a flag officer and admiral is to lead the Commission Corps of the Public Health Service, and that's about 5,400 doctors, nurses, pharmacists, therapists. Believe it or not, we've got a few veterinarians in there as well, dentists, dermatologists. We are Secretary Kennedy's tip of the spear strike force for public health initiatives. And it's really a privilege to wear this uniform. It's a privilege to receive the salutes that I receive from other members of other uniformed services and my own officers. To wear this uniform is a privilege, but that's a big part of what I do, is to lead the Commission Corps, because we really are the edge of the knife, the tip of the spear for public health in the United States. And I have officers deployed other parts of the world as well, primarily in the U.S. We work at Guantanamo Bay, for instance. We work with ICE agencies. We work with DHS. We supply doctors and nurses to the Indian Health Service, which is a big role. We have officers that work at FDA, work at CDC. They're out in community health centers. So we're all over the place, but that's part of my role as well.
Wow.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
I had no idea.
It's a lot of people. And these officers, these are good men and women. These are good men and women who want to serve, who care about this country. And one of the things I have been told by officer after officer is they said, we are so happy that we have a new Assistant Secretary for Health. We're demoralized by our prior Assistant Secretary because we knew he didn't really care about us. He put the uniform on as a political stunt. Brian, you wear the uniform because you care about the country and you want to serve the President and the Secretary.
So going into this role, like, you're just kind of starting. If now, and hopefully we'll do an interview as you're leaving and we can reassess, but give us your top 3, like, these are the things that I definitely want to get done while I'm here. What would those be?
Yeah, and so my agenda is, of course, Secretary Kennedy's agenda and the President's agenda. We all work for the President. He is the Commander-in-Chief. I work with Secretary Kennedy as we both serve the President and serve the people. And so the things that are really important to us at the Department of Health and Human Services, we know that affordability of health care, affordability of drugs, making sure we have good health care delivered to everybody, whether it be in a city or in these rural environments, that is something incredibly important to the President and the Secretary and myself. Also, we have our values issues. In other words, and we can talk about this, right to life issues, respect for the dignity of every man, woman, and child in this country. That's incredibly important to us. Taking care of men, taking care of women, that's important. So affordability, these values issues, and doing everything so different from the last administration and the last Department of Health and Human Services. We absolutely are guided by science. That's something that Secretary Kennedy has said again and again. We are guided by gold standard science, and we use that science to form policy and to do things that are going to make America healthier than she's ever been.
Okay, but Dr. Fauci says he is science. So are we Dr. Fauci science, or are we, like, how do you...
Are we science?
We are science. We are science. Listen, people can think what they want about Dr. Fauci. I prefer not to think about Dr. Fauci. I don't have much regard or respect for that individual. But who I do have regard and respect for are RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Bhattacharya, who was so incredibly strong during the COVID pandemic. He leads the NIH, the National Institutes of Health. I have respect for Dr. Oz, Mehmet Oz, who heads up CMS, Medicare and Medicaid. He is amazingly brilliant, amazingly committed to this country. We have Marty McCary, who is out at FDA. Marty also cares deeply. We don't have a CDC director right now. The interim director is a man named Jim O'Neill. Jim is also the deputy secretary at HHS, incredibly smart, incredibly strong, committed to life, committed to science. So those are the people I think about. I don't worry about Anthony Fauci. I don't want to think about Anthony Fauci. He did enough harm to this country.
Yeah.
I think about President Trump and our team now at HHS because we're doing amazing things.
You clearly are. So could we jump in then to those values issues
Sure.
that you've mentioned? Top of the list, right to life.
Yes.
And underneath that would be people's concern about mifepristone.
Sure.
Could you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, I'm 62 years old, turned 62 in December. This is the most pro-life administration that I've ever seen in my 6 decades plus of life. There's no question about it. The most pro-life.
And welcome back. I am Amy Beth Shaver with JP. Allison will be back tomorrow. We are the right side. As JP sometimes like for me to say, we're in the right place at the right time. This is the right place. You found the right side. Sometimes Allison likes to say the bright side, and it's true. It's the bright side. We're about to read your comments before we dive into the rest of the news, and then take a plunge at 11:30 with a media bias conversation. But I have to tell you that I've been texting with one of my best friends and my son. He was in Homewood today and his wallet flew off the top of his car. Flew off. He said it's been a rough day. His car alarm wouldn't stop going off. He's about to sell his car. So all things, of course, are going wrong right now. But he says his wallet flew off his car. He didn't know where it went. And some wonderful human being picked it up and drove it to my house. And luckily, thankfully, not luckily, one of my best friends was still there. And she got it from this really nice gentleman. So thank you, sir, for picking up the wallet. My son says thank you. We really appreciate it. But has that ever happened to you?
Not my wallet, my laptop.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
It went flying?
I was leaving my grandfather's house, and I had my laptop. I was like getting in the car, set my laptop on top of my car, and then I realized I forgot something inside, went back inside, grabbed something, come back out, and just drove off with my laptop on top of my car. And if I brought my laptop here, you could see there's scratches all over it. But I got home, I was like, where's my laptop? And then I was like, did I do it? And I go, oh crap. I go back, and like right down the road from my grandfather's, it was laying on the curb on the road. It survived though, and it still works to this day. But yeah.
Okay, wow.
It's pretty amazing.
Just wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting details, and people, there are decent humans, and I am just in awe. So thank you, sir. Yes, sir, he is risen indeed. Yes. That is what he left my friend with.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Awesome, dude. So thank you. All right, let's get to your comments, your questions, your thoughts. JP.
Well, first we got a text in from Pudgy Paragon.
Hi, Pudgy Paragon.
And it's a master's household agreement.
Oh, do share.
And I'm going to put it up on the screen here. The Masters 2026 household agreement. From April 9th to the 12th, the TV will be on and only airing the Masters content. All non-Masters related events, weddings, birthdays, baby showers, surprise parties, etc. are hereby canceled. Living room is now officially designated as an indoor putting facility during potential Masters weather delays. During non-broadcast hours on the weekends, I will be unavailable as I'll be outside training for the 2027 Masters. By reading this, you agree to all terms. That's good.
This is going to probably go on I'm going to print it out old-fashioned like and put it on my fridge. Thanks, Pudgy.
Yeah, and for those watching, take a screenshot and send it to
Amen to that. Okay.
We got some. Oh, by the way, somebody misses us.
Really?
Look on the screen at who commented.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey.
How you doing at the beauty shop?
She can't even get her hair did without missing us, apparently.
Well, we miss you desperately and can't wait for you to come back tomorrow.
With your red hair.
With your red hair. And also, I was thinking that tomorrow maybe we should like dress in golf outfits.
Oh.
Huh? What do you think about that? Because I got a real cute golf skirt last year at Target. No, at TJ Smacks. And I was thinking maybe we should honor the masters or even wear green jackets we could get from the thrift store. I got a velvet green jacket, but I could wear that tomorrow.
You wore a green jacket at the event 2 nights ago, did you not?
JP, that's pistachio.
Sorry.
Okay, that is
Sorry.
pistachio.
Sorry.
I don't know what color that is. I just like to say that it's pistachio. Yes, but I have a green velvet jacket in my car that's closer to Master's green. So if we decide we're going to dress in Master's clothing tomorrow, JP, do you have like a little golf?
I've got golf clothes for sure.
Oh, I have, since Chris went to the Masters that one time, I have a Masters visor.
Do you really? Yeah, you gotta wear that.
Because he bought it there.
Oh, that's sick.
All right, anyway, carry on.
Let's see. Joel Williams on Facebook says, anyone who believes Iran will behave in any other way than they have in the past is delusional. The only thing that will stop is regime change.
Joel Williams, you know what? You are correct that if you believe that Iran's going to change, you're delusional. You are right about that. They're going to do what they want to do. But do we have the stomach? If that's the case and there needs to be a regime change, and regime change, I believe we're meaning the same thing. It's not the same old people that have been involved, but like Reza Pahlavi coming back as a transition leader until they can find a decent human. That's what it's going to take. Because people from the same regime doing the same things they've always done means we'll be right back here in 5 years or less. If that's what we want to do. But you're right. They're going to do what they want. That's what they always do. We haven't learned that. So either we leave them alone or we go all in. But this, we don't know what's up. It's exhausting. Is that fair? Is that exhausting?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mark Marty.
Hey, Mark.
Says there's so much propaganda on both sides.
Fair.
BJ Goss says we don't understand what Trump mindset is either. Laughing emoji.
That's also fair. We don't.
And then we got Mark Money again saying your podcast and interview on people are great. I think he's talking about the Brian Christine interview during the break.
Oh, we're very happy you like that.
By the way, if you're watching those interviews that played during the breaks, there's a link in the comments on whatever stream you're watching with a link to the full interview if you want to watch it all on our YouTube. So. Oh, and also we got a comment from Bully Bell who says the beauty of the course at the Masters is chemically laden.
Is it? Why did you have to just kill my vibe?
I mean, I'm sure that's true.
Come on.
But also it's beautiful regardless.
It's so beautiful. It's beautiful. Pour the chemicals on. Yeah. I'm not for it in any other time, but pour them all. Actually, yes, I am. We're trying to kill a crepe myrtle. But it's absolutely beautiful. Also, back to the people, Mark and others who say we don't understand Trump's mindset. You're absolutely right. He's genuinely crazy like a fox. So the question is, do we just stop trying?
I don't think Trump knows Trump's mindset, which is his biggest strength, but also sometimes his biggest weakness. Mm-hmm. But that's Trump.
Now, what I do appreciate is he is a doer. Even if I don't agree with what he's doing, he is a doer. And he's going to try to do what he said he would do. But it's exhausting to keep up with it. And you guys are right. We don't understand it. We're trying. And perhaps that's the answer, is to just stop trying and watch. Who knows? All right. JP.
Real quick. Can we talk a real quick state story that is big news?
Yes. What source am I going to?
This is well, this is just off the rip off of what I know and what I've seen, but apparently closed primary bill is out of committee.
Okay, this is a real clap.
Yeah.
No one thought that was going to happen.
I'll bring up a story to try and get all the details. I don't know if it was well, I do know they were talking about amendments. I don't know what specific amendments, if any, happened. But yeah, closed primary. The session ends on the 16th. Is that correct? It's coming out. I think it's next week regardless.
Well, no, tomorrow.
Really? Today
or tomorrow? Like they're done, but then they're going to go back in and have, I'm sure, a special session.
Yeah. Let's look at when the legislative session ends. It's scheduled to adjourn by late April of 2026. It says expected adjournment is April 27th, 2026.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm wrong. Totally wrong.
It's expected though.
Okay.
Maybe it's supposed to end before then.
Silly me. I thought when they meant we're almost done.
Yeah, so
We're almost done. Like me at the end of a car ride where you can actually see what we're pulling into, like almost done. They didn't actually mean. I'm sorry.
it's okay. Well, no,
User error.
the scheduled end is supposed to be a week from today
Okay.
on the 16th, according to Ballotpedia.
Okay.
But yeah, what do you think about that? Because there was a lot of talk about people being pessimistic that it was going to go through the Senate and it was just going to be one of those things that we ran out of time. But if it came out of committee, there's a whole week for it to be voted through the Senate. What are your thoughts?
I really want this to happen.
Yeah.
That's my thought. I really do. I am thrilled that it looks like it's going to happen. Please just let this happen. That's all.
So this is the Alabama Reflector.
Oh, okay.
An Alabama Senate committee on Tuesday approved a bill that would require voters to register with a party to vote in its primaries. Let's see. The Senate Governmental Affairs Committee approved the legislation 7-2 with an amendment after a public hearing Tuesday morning. So let's see if we can see what the amendment is. I heard some people saying that potentially it's going to model sort of the Oklahoma model where you can register as an independent. But even in that case, apparently if you are registered as an independent, then you can vote in either party's primaries. So it seems like that would kind of defeat the purpose a little bit. But regardless, I was not expecting it to. We could be having a vote on this before the end of session, which is pretty cool.
I hope that it happens. I'm excited. Now, obviously, people can also bring in the cons of having a closed primary and what that involves, but at least it is a step in the right direction. As we learned from Dr. Douglas Frank, there's deeper, more layered issues involved than just this, but that's going to have to be solved differently. This is a huge step in the right direction because we know people are voting in the Republican primaries who are not Republicans. That is an issue. So, yay. Thank you. I know it seems infantile to say yay, but thank you.
So apparently the amendment that was approved was brought by Dan Roberts.
Okay.
Removed a section making it the responsibility of absentee ballot managers to register absentee voters with parties. And the amendment passed 8-1.
I think that's fair, don't you?
I think it is. So it says there's a maximum of 2 days remaining in the 2026 legislative session. So it could be the end of the day. I don't know. Who knows when legislative session ends?
Somebody tell us.
Who knows?
I thought it was today.
Yeah, apparently
Clearly I'm wrong.
Apparently the schedule says the 16th, but they expect to go to the 20th. Yeah, somebody tell. Well, when does legislative session actually end? But regardless, we'll see. We could be getting a vote on this.
Because when we were at our event this week, I heard somebody say, we're done this week. And I'm like, I guess I assumed that meant you guys were done. I was wrong. Surprise. I'm wrong so many times every day. It's shocking to be right. Okay. So that's exciting. I did also see that they are, and I wanted to know what you thought about this. This is an Alabama issue. And what do you guys think about this? Because when you travel, for example, in Europe, there are no pennies. It's always even Steven when you buy something. There's a penny bill rounding to the nearest 5 cents because pennies are hard to find. What do you think about that? Like we would basically eliminate that, or is this just one more step on the way to digital currency?
Yeah, I don't know. The cynical side of me says that. But then it's also like, when's the last time I used a penny ever? When's the last time I used cash ever? And then I go, oh no, this is what they want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I haven't used cash. I think the last time I used cash was to tip, tip movers who were helping me move. That was the last time I used cash. And before that, I couldn't tell you if I had cash in my wallet right now. I don't know. The only time I go on my wallet is to get my debit card. Yeah. And now we got this where you can just, boop, boop, boop. You don't even have to get your wallet out.
Nothing.
And it's like, oh, this is so convenient. But then, yeah, you had that thought and you're like, oh, they can just control it all. They want you to not use the cash.
I like that. I like
they're like,
puppeteering.
They're like, yes, don't use the cash.
No. Plus, my kids take any cash I have. Okay. 2 other Alabama issues. I don't know who wrote these stories. I could look and tell you. Apparently, in the House, and I think this is already a done deal, scholarships available for children of long-serving law enforcement, college scholarships are going to be available. Let me back up and say that. For long-serving children of law enforcement. I think that's a good thing.
Yes.
And then finally, Alabama's anti-DEI policies, and I believe this is for higher education, have been celebrated. The strides that we've made, the U.S. Department of Education is celebrating that. So that's a good thing. So there are good things happening around the state. And I'm sorry, I just jotted the notes down and I'll figure out who wrote those stories and where. But it was early this morning, JP. I hadn't had my coffee yet. Sounds like an excuse because it is.
Yeah, I'll get up a lot earlier than I do.
And I didn't have my glasses on, but they caught my attention and I scribbled them in the semi-darkness of my kitchen. All right. After that, before we get to our 11:30 and the plunge, there were a couple other things. We talked through what's going on in the Middle East. And even kind of woven in there were the very expensive gas prices in Tim Burchett. And we just have to say once again, do we need a Tim Burchett wall? Do we need like a framed portrait of Tim? With that, they had the "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets. What if we came up with the "What Would Timmy Do"? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, you know
Tim,
what
would TB do?
While you're talking, I know exactly what we would frame as his picture.
Okay,
but keep talking.
show me.
I'll pull it up.
Because I'm beginning to think that with his common sense, with his transparency, I feel like we could just turn to the poster and go, "What would you do, Tim?" And that would be our bracelet. WWTBD. Question mark. We could put it in I would actually wear the gosh awful Tennessee orange if it were
I wouldn't
orange.
do that.
Would you wear it if it were white and we like imprinted it with black? You get.
However, we can frame this picture of him though.
Yeah, we can. Okay. I like it. It's just so funny.
I will say his I don't know if it's just he started doing it or his like campaign comms told him to start doing these videos, but it's genius because he's such a real guy and somebody that can like just speak in layman's terms about what's actually going on in Congress. You're leaving the Capitol and you just whip your phone out and say, "Hey guys, Tim Burchett, you will not believe what they just did up here." And then you just explain it and you're like, "Oh, what the heck? What?" And then but he's the guy that can explain it kind of where, right where the chickens can get it, the cows can get it, whatever they're saying.
Right down where the
where we
can get it.
Yeah, where we can understand.
Where the heifers can get it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why y'all love him, because he puts it down where the heifers can. It's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's great.
I do think it's great. And I would urge our new senator, and Katie Britt does a lot of updating, but I also would ask our representatives, could some of y'all please just give us Tim Burchett style updates? We want to know what's going on. Same thing. One of the things that I would have done if I had gotten to the State House is I honestly plan to record everything. Now that I've gotten older, I'm like, ugh. But that kind of transparency is refreshing because even if no action's ever taken, we at least know what's going on. And that man has nothing to hide. And the people we send shouldn't have anything to hide. And generally, they don't. But that is refreshing. And so my humble request of our new senator and our representatives is, could y'all please start doing that? It's great. Makes you feel like an insider. JP, what would we do if we just had you won't believe this. What would your everyday life look like?
Like right now, currently?
Yeah, like if we're not those people, but we do talk a lot.
It would probably be during breaks where I'm like, Guys, you will not believe what's going on. Allison is walking on the walking pad while doing squats. Amy Beth is over here eating a snack, reading a news headline, and they're talking to each. I'm like, what is going on? You will not believe what's going on right here. Thanks for sending me here. That's what he says. Thanks for sending me here.
Yeah, see, we need to do that. Mine would be in the car on my way here. Maybe that's what we're just inventing right now. Because you said, or maybe it was Allison that said yesterday, guys, we never stop talking. Like all day. We talk to each other all day by text. Only sometimes do we call. We also voice text. Mine would be on the way here with my coffee that may or may not go over the edge of the cup because I refuse to use a traveler. Do you know why?
Why?
Because the inside tastes like metal, and coffee that tastes like metal basically tastes like sadness.
Yeah, it does.
So I haven't found one that I like yet. So I walk around life with an actual coffee cup, like a lady wearing her robe out taking the dog, except for it's me in my car. That's what mine would be.
That's good.
And whatever disaster has just taken place, or something fun, because usually the disaster involves my big dog. That'd be Bear.
Bear.
He's a puppy, but he is gigantic. His feet are enormous. Like, he's so big.
What kind of dog is he again?
All three of them are bull mastiffs.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But my Moose is more of a bulldog. My Bear is a mastiff. He's giant. And Buffy is a little bit more skittish. She's kind of like a boxer. So anyway.
I love big
So
dogs.
maybe that's what, me too. When I met my husband, my dreams of having a Yorkshire Terrier carried around in my purse died.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not going to happen, is it? Because there's nothing funnier than a big man with a little tiny dog. Do you know what that means? If you see a big man with a little tiny dog,
What does that mean?
he loves his wife.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to have a Rottweiler. That's mine.
They're beautiful dogs.
I think it's because my one of my cousins in Pennsylvania, when we go up, he had a Rottweiler. He still does. He has a Rottweiler named Angelo.
Oh.
And he is just, there's actually a picture I somewhere on my phone of me with my little cousin on my shoulders in the pool, and Angelo is like reaching across with his paw on my shoulder, kissing my face.
Oh.
It's one of the best pictures. I love Angelo. But yeah, I want a Rottweiler.
Great dogs. Great dogs. Have you seen Borbells?
Mm-mm.
They're a type of mastiff. They're even bigger than the ones I have. Giant. Gigantic. But these are dogs that we have granddaughters. We can't have them that big anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
We got to kind of shrink it back a little bit. But I've got them for a while because they're only puppies, not Moose. The other two are puppies. All right. Anyway, anywho. All right. How long do we have, JP?
We got about a minute and a half for the break.
Okay. So I saw in Not the Bee, just real quickly, maybe you guys have been following the North Carolina story about the Irina Zarutska who was murdered on the bus. I don't understand this, and I won't. Maybe somebody can explain it to me like I'm 5, but the killer, her murderer, was found incompetent to stand trial.
No way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So he's competent enough to murder, but he's not competent enough to stand trial. That doesn't make sense to me. Number 2 that I saw from Not the Bee is that Planned Parenthood killed a record amount of children this past year. That's horrific. And remember, their business now is very chemically related because of all the abortion pill availability. And then number 3, a zany story. This is all from Not the Bee. A Connecticut hospital apparently ran the ICU. And if you've ever had anybody in intensive care, you know you want the best people on duty. But a Connecticut hospital ran the ICU with a telehealth doctor. The doctor wasn't even there. Telehealth doctor.
Beyond parody.
Don't go to that hospital, JP.
I won't.
I mean, can you imagine?
No.
Like, you're holding up the computer to the patient. What do I do, doctor?
Tell me what I do next. I'm sorry.
Unplug what?
Beep,
Beep, beep.
The internet went out. Oh, we're done. We're toast.
Anyway, stories from around. When we come back, we are going to take a plunge and talk about media bias. Maybe you've heard these numbers, but for me, they're staggering. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Than I've ever seen. I think the administration that is friendliest to religion and faith that I've ever seen. And President Trump has demonstrated that again and again. We stand for life. We stand for the fact that we know that life begins at conception. We respect life until life's natural end. We respect the dignity of the person. We want to make sure that we stand with individuals who believe those same things, and we do. The recent March for Life, you saw that Vice President Vance address the country. The next day, there was a breakfast that was basically for all of the youth, the young men and women who'd come into this country come into the city from across the country. There was a breakfast that morning. Jim O'Neill, the deputy secretary, and myself, we addressed those students, and there were over 2,000 people there. And we talked about the fact, what we're doing for life, the fact that we know little boys are little boys and little girls are little girls, the fact that we know life begins at conception, the fact that we are doing things like, for instance, through my office, the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health, we administer the Title X funds. So let me tell you, so just recently, because of our oversight, directed by Secretary Kennedy, our oversight over Title X funds, $2.3 million of grants that had been given before us had to be returned by Planned Parenthood. $2.3 million that will no longer go to killing children. $2.3 million that will no longer go to lying to women. Because of our oversight, they gave that money back, which is a huge victory. Absolutely. We make sure that we're enforcing the Hyde Amendment. President Trump, Secretary Kennedy, and myself, we are strong for this. No federal dollars are going to go toward abortion or procuring abortion services. We are strong with the Hyde Amendment, and we are making sure the Hyde Amendment is being enforced, unlike the last administration. Yes. We have made sure that monies, that when you have youth, children or youths, young girls who are taken in custody coming across the border or something, that federal dollars cannot go to providing abortion services, because that was going on in the last administration. Just totally disregarding the Hyde Amendment. We stand strong. That's no longer happening. So for those right-to-life issues, we've been incredibly strong about that, and we're very vocal about that. Again, one of the things that impresses me most about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he's always been this way, he really realizes that God has given an inherent dignity to every man, woman, and child, and we respect that dignity.
As an adopted person, and I know as an adoptive mother, we are so thankful for those policies. And as women who've lived through the nonsense, that the lies that have been heaped upon us, that you have to kill your child to have a life.
That's right.
We're very grateful for your stand in that regard.
Again, all of this is a privilege, but we have to do it for the country. We have to and we have to remember too that all of the wins that we have in this administration and this Department of Health and Human Services, it only takes one election cycle for things to reverse. And so we can talk about this more later, but it's incredibly important for us as conservatives, for us as people of faith, to be motivated to vote in November, to get out, support those candidates who stand with President Trump and his agenda. It's going to be more important than it's ever been. I know every election it's like, this is the most important. So I'm not going to use that hyperbole, but this is an incredibly important election in November. So I want all of the people, all of the men and women who watch this podcast, who listen to this podcast, and there are so many, I want them all to know, tell your friends, tell your families, we've got to be out there supporting candidates in congressional districts and Senate races that support the president in November.
You posted recently about gender affirming care, gender dysphoria, and kind of your work, and you just mentioned, right to life. That I would agree, that is a life issue. Were you surprised when the American Medical Association came out recently and said that gender affirming care, genital mutilation, all that should be put off till adulthood? And do you think that we're maybe turning a corner on all this?
I think that is I'm so glad you asked that question, because yes, so the American Medical Association is certainly backing away from its prior stance. It was the Academy of Plastic Surgeons, I think that's the right name. The Academy of Plastic Surgeons that said, and this is landmark, they said just this past week that we recommend that we don't do those mutilating surgeries, what we call the sex-rejecting surgeries, on anybody under the age of 19. That is huge. That is huge. And I think we are turning this corner. we can never take our foot off the accelerator, because I like to say that gender theory is like a vampire. It'll come back. You may think you've killed it, but it'll come back in the next hostile administration. So we always have to keep our foot on the accelerator for this, and we are, and I am, and President Trump certainly is. But yeah, I hope that we've turned a corner. I really do. This really started with, again, science. So we released at HHS, we released something called the Gender Dysphoria Report, and that was back in the fall. We released this report that basically looked at all the science, and we said, no, the wrong way to treat these children is to perform castrating surgeries. The wrong way to treat these children is to use sex-rejecting chemicals and hormones. The right way to treat these children is with compassionate, competent mental health care. Now, personally, as a person of faith, I personally believe that if the child's parents want this, I think pastoral care is incredibly important to support these kids, right? But we initiated that report. The report was released, and then we did something even more. We had what was called the peer review of that report. So we invited scientists, not all of whom were aligned with us, to say, review this report. Tell us what you think. Put your politics aside. Go by the science. And they had to say, you're right. The science backs up exactly what you're saying about this. So I think things like we're seeing with the plastic surgeons, things like hopefully we're going to be seeing more with the AMA, really the shot across the bow was the Gender Dysphoria Report. Because, again, Secretary Kennedy has always said, we use gold standard science to guide our decisions. That's gold standard science. Those kind of things, sex-rejecting surgeries, horrible chemicals and mutilations, that's not the way to treat these kids. I am not.
Hello. Welcome back. We hope you are having a great day. Thank you for all your comments and thoughts so far, and be interested to hear your thoughts now. One of the reasons we exist is to combat the problem, and the problem is what's true. Who do you trust? How do you know? And what should you do about it? Last week, or even this week, I kind of collect, you probably do too, JP. I collect information and just kind of tuck it away and save it.
Yeah.
So this story initially caught my eye, and I've got 3 different bits of information. But the first thing that caught my eye, and the reason it did, was because I'm in constant conversation with friends and family over what's true and how do you know, like who do you guys on the show listen to? What do you read? How do you know they're telling the truth? All those kinds of questions that you would assume we get. Then you have the group of people that are, well, I'm going to watch both sides to kind of see what the truth is. I don't know that there's a wrong answer here. It's just what suits you. Then there are other people who watch nothing and read everything. So you've got the mixture, you've got the read everything, you've got the listen and read. It's across the board. But the universal question is, how do I even know what's true? That's why we exist, is to suss out what is true, because what is true affects your life, because it affects your worldview, it affects how you think, and it affects what you do next with that truth. And at the beginning of the program, that sounded so boomer. Program.
The beginning of the program.
The program.
Stand by for news.
The beginning of the program, we talked about G.K. Chesterton's quote. It's not that societies are destroyed by weak men. It's by men who are not able to defend what's good. And the question is, what's good? And we talked about that standard. What is good? Well, what is good is actually going back to the beginning. It is defined by God. That's what's good. And what's good is what's true. And how do we know what's true? Because we know what God says about what's true. That's our standard, is it not?
Exactly.
But the trip up comes with so many people, many, many conservatives, many liberals go, well, I read the news, I'm paying attention, but is what you're paying attention to accurate? Media Research Center put this out 3 days ago, but I'd actually seen this weeks ago. And we dabbled in this story, but we haven't actually talked about it. Apple News promoted out of 439 stories. Apple News promoted 434 top stories from left-leaning sites. Only 5 from right-leaning sites. The Media Research Center suggests, and I don't think they're wrong, Apple News is a megaphone for the leftist media. What do you think that does to your mindset if this is the place, and it is one of the most popular sites? At the time I first read this, they were the most popular site for news intake. What do you think about that?
It's not surprising, but also it makes sense because you see so many people that are just bitter and they walk around bitter and everything is just pessimism. But I think a lot of that is that was Apple News. Everybody's got one of these. That is, you could say that is the most easily accessible news, the Apple News, what they give you. And if it's all, everything sucks, everything is bad, and it's all left leaning, then I think what that does to you is even if you're not actively reading it, but even when you just see the Apple notifications that come in, even just that, where it's like, everything's bad, Trump is Hitler, read more here. Like, even when you just see those constantly over and over and over, it is a form of brainwashing. And it is upsetting and disturbing because, obviously we all have our biases. Our bias is truth, which typically is right-leaning most of the time, not all the time though, but the left-leaning news is typically on offense against truth for the most part, like 99.9% of the time, dare I say 100% of the time. So when the most easily accessible news via Apple News, if it's all 90, how much did you say? 90 something percent?
Yeah.
Is left leaning. Well, first of all, yeah, you're not giving an unbiased, and you're not telling the story. You're not telling both sides, but also that has an effect on people, and it has a form of brainwashing. And like I said, both sides have their biases and their angles, but if you're only telling one angle 90 something percent of the time, then that has, an effect on people, especially when it's Apple News.
So to add to that, and I have thoughts, but we'll get that when we get to the what do we do about it. Here's some more delightful information. And it's to what you say. If you hear it over and over again, it's a form of brainwashing. This is from Adam Mosoff last week. Data analytics confirm huge bias in favor of pro-Islamic regime of Iran by BBC, CNN, NBC, and New York Times. These media organizations used war crime 32 times in news reports in the first 3 weeks of the U.S.-Iran-Israel war. That's really what it is. 0 references solely to crimes by the Islamic regime. And 88% of the media uses referred solely to the U.S. or Israel. So they left Iran out at all. The Islamic regime uses cluster bombs against Israeli civilians. This is this guy's point of view. Shoots missiles and suicide drones at civilian targets in numerous Arab countries. This is true. Not involved in war. Fires missiles at holy sites in Old Jerusalem. 0 identifications of those war crimes as standalone by major Western media organizations. This is shameful. And so this camera for truth analysis found BBC, CNN, NBC, and New York Times. And again, just reiterated on a graph how many times they use certain phrases. That's a big deal. But how do you know that to know you're being propagandized?
It takes a little bit of emotional maturity. I hate to say it, but you have to go into it knowing that. That's kind of what as I've been more into the political world and in the news talk world, you kind of have to go into certain areas through that lens, knowing the bias. For example, if you're one of those people that claims that I like to listen to both sides, there's a bit of that could be true if you do it the right way. For example, if you go into CNN or whatever and you're watching it through the lens of, okay, they're going to say it in a certain tone at a certain angle with a certain agenda, there may be nuggets in there that you could grab of, okay, well, I get what they're saying in the story. And then you kind of have to reject the angle aspect of it. Here's what's happening, and this is why Trump is Hitler. You kind of have to take it through, and it's like a filter. You take the story, and then the angle is something else. Well, then you can go to somebody else, and they may be saying a different nugget of the same story, but then they go down their angle. So it's almost like you have to reject the angles a little bit and listen to and pick up the nuggets from what everybody's saying. And then once you do that, you kind of paint the picture of what the story actually is, and then you can figure it out. That's kind of how I figured out, at least for me, what works. But it takes a little bit of emotional maturity, like I said, because people it's tribalism. People want to be told that their side is right and that they're winning. They're on the good side and the other side is the bad side. So they just want to be told what they want to hear constantly. That's sort of the emotionally immature. And unfortunately, it's the majority of Americans, I feel like. They just want to be told, rah, rah, we're good, they're bad. And they're not really looking for the truth. They're just wanting a pep rally speech to go. But I think if you go into it knowing the angle, I think that's the way to do it. And I mean, I don't listen to a lot of left leaning, because right now, unfortunately, with how the right is, it's almost like each faction of the right is its own. But I listen to Tucker, listen to like the Megyn Kellys. I used to listen to Bongino a lot. But that's sort of how I try to find out the best of the truth, is reject the angle of what they're saying, pick up the nugget of truth, and then figure it out on your own.
Is it Winston Churchill or C.S. Lewis said that a lie is halfway around the globe before the truth has a chance to get her pants on?
Yeah.
Get his pants on. It's true. Last thing I'll say, and I'm only using this stat because it was on my birthday, but 2 years ago. So it's probably even worse now, but 63% of content from left-leaning sources, 63% of articles on Google News are reportedly sourced from left-leaning outlets, while right-leaning sources comprise a meager 6%. That's an in-depth analysis by All Sides Media. CNN and the New York Times alone contribute to 28% of all content, overshadowing conservative voices like Fox News, which barely accounts for 5%. When it comes to contentious topics like abortion, climate change, and the economy, Google's algorithm overwhelmingly favors progressive narratives, effectively silencing all other perspectives. So sussing out what's true takes more time than swallowing whole what the Googles, the Apple, and other media sources are going to tell you. It takes more time to find out what's true. But if truth is like a word fitly spoken is an apple in a setting of silver, the Bible says, if we go back and that is our standard, if the Bible is our standard, then that is the way, number one, ground level, that helps us find out what's true. That is our filter. Now, if you saw the recent, is it a Pew study? I can't remember if it's a Lifeway study, Ligonier Ministry study. Biblical illiteracy is at an all-time high. But the encouraging part is that people are buying Bibles in record numbers. That's encouraging. But we have to go beyond buying it to read it. But that's a number one, because I really did think about this for a while. How in the world are we going to know what's true? You have to know truth first. Then we dive in and you listen to several sources. And then you have to ask yourself, is that logical? Are they using straw man arguments? Are they using ad hominem attacks? And by straw man, they compare apples and oranges, but take the apple view and negate the orange view. Like it's a It's fake. It's not real. They're comparing two different things. Are they using ad hominem personal attacks? Because when personal attacks get lobbed, then the argument's over. Whatever the other argument was, that's probably what's true. Because if you have to attack, your argument doesn't hold water. Or if you gaslight, a lot of gaslighting happens. Got to pay attention to that. Like, it is not easy to find out what's true, but it's worth it because then you can help other people get themselves rightly pointed toward truth. And truth is the most important thing. That is what we ought to esteem higher than anything else. Truth is prized, and that's what we're after. But it's not easy to find it because the smooth-tongued presenters, I'm sorry, but they are so effective. Are they not, JP?
They are. And you know why? It's because who's the deceiver and who's so good at that?
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, look at, just for example, think about the pro-Palestine events that were taking place, or the instant that you are for Iran, or whatever, make up whatever ICE, for example, ICE protest, and how they instantly formed. How did that happen? Who's funding them? For those of you on the left, who's funding that? How did that happen so organically and so quickly with beautifully made signs? Like, we've got to stop. And that's why these devices, not allowed at the masters and being put down and turned off, will help us think through, wait a second, now that you have a second and you're not distracted. I don't know about y'all, but I'm like, squirrel every day. If we're not distracted and take time to think, we'll know what's true. And look, y'all know this because you are astute, you are observant, you're in the fight. That's who makes up our tribe. Rightside Mafia, Rightside Nation. That's who makes us up. That's who we are. But for most people, their constant question is, what's true and why does it matter?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's true because it affects the way we think, and the way we think affects the way we act. And the way we act affects our culture by what we do and choose not to do. Fair?
That is fair. It's, one of my favorite quotes is from Otto von Bismarck. People never lie so much as after a hunt, during a war, or before an election.
That's good.
It's so true. And right now we're in the aspect of during a war, and it's like, what is the truth? You know, and it's frustrating at times, but ultimately, and this is another thing I've come to the conclusion after being in politics or around politics so much, is that like the ultimate divide is not like Republican, Democrat. It is good versus evil. And it is truth and lies. So that's why it is a spiritual battle when they try to tell your kids the lies that you can be any gender you want. You can be whatever you want. You could be a dinosaur. You could be you could be a nothing. Like, that's just biblically not true. And the truth is Christ and the Bible, obviously. So that is the ultimate good, or truth versus lies. And lies are just inherently evil and of Satan. So that is where that's where it plays in, is Christ is truth. And that is the lens that every fight in politics is through. That is for truth, and lies are meant to confuse you. And he's the master of deception and confusion, Satan. So it all boils down to eventually good versus evil, and Christ versus evil altogether.
And wrapping it up, well said, sir, are a few other things, because you're making me think while you're saying that. Listen to people in their own words. The Trump narrative out of Virginia years ago, people lost their minds.
Yeah.
With that good people on both sides.
Good people on both sides.
Perfect example. Outraged, orange man bad. Did you bother to listen to him in his own words? Y'all did. But did our friends and family? No. Encourage friends and family to go listen to people in their own words. Read the founders in their own words. Kids today do not read books. Read them, listen to podcasts. Biographies are incredible. Autobiographies, even better. I know who has time to read. That's a problem. We don't read. But listen to people in their own sources. And then when you do that, also, one of the places at JP, and this is where I'll finish, X is actually a great source for you to see all the sides if you like to do that. Great. And we can hold space for people with whom we violently disagree, vehemently disagree, but you can cling to part of their argument if it's true. We don't need to be afraid of that anymore. But I find X to be a delightful exercise in people putting it out there. You have access to data. You can go search it out for yourself. You hear me mention Mike Benz a lot. He is a data guy or data Republican. She is a data phenom. But find the sources that are reliably, credibly, provably true, and only go to those after a while, after you've figured out what you like and what you need. We read mostly, don't we, JP? And we listen. We don't necessarily watch. But those are the things that we use to help us because we are constantly battling over what's true here. Because ultimately, that's what it's all about, is what's true and what's good, and then what's next. Acting on those things. That's what changes culture. Okay.
Wait, real quick. You know what I just realized?
What?
We never did the
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the plunge.
that was the plunge.
That was the plunge. Fair.
And your 8-second flush.
It's the non-high energy flush.
Yeah.
The non-sanctioned flush that we're here for. The plunge. All right. Finishing up the day, JP.
Mm-hmm.
Our last stories, because we don't have our fun friend Allison to do the 3 with. We have the 2. We have the 2.
I guess the sound effect is still working, even though it's 3. Oh, no, it's 4. I guess so.
Okay, well then we're just dividing it.
Bum,
Dividing
bum.
and conquering. All right. What you got there, sir?
What is this video? Cincinnati cops bike chase turns into viral comedy.
What?
I'm
Hold on, I got to go back so I can see this.
gonna have to download the video real quick.
A
Hold on.
viral bike chase?
Yeah, so this is a Cincinnati cop. I just downloaded the video. Let me pull it up. So, let's see. Cincinnati cop's bike chase turns into viral comedy. Police officer pushed to the ground as he tries restraining a man in Cincinnati, Ohio. The officer was seen trying to tackle the bicyclist, whatever,
Yeah.
before trying to pepper spray him. The man was ultimately able to get his bike and ride away. It's unclear at the moment what exactly led up to the incident. But this is kind of
You know what? He was racing because he wanted to get to Skyline Chili.
so here's the video.
That's a great chili place, by the way, in Cincinnati. You're welcome.
He gets taken to the ground, misses the bike. The cop is trying to grab the bike. Look at this. He tries to pepper spray him. And yet the guy, he misses the pepper spray. Now he's chasing him.
I mean, the guy's barely even running away. Run faster, man.
Misses the pepper spray again. And now the guy avoids a car, gets back on his bike, and now he's off to the races and he gets away.
JP, could I humbly make a suggestion?
What?
I think the cop needs to run more.
I think we need to get more fit cops.
He was right there. He didn't get him.
Let's watch the initial scuffle again. Okay, so he's got him around the neck. He gets away, gets on the ground, grabs the bike by the wheel,
He can't even
fumbles.
get
He's got him on the ground again.
him. Fling himself on top, dude.
Misses hit him again.
That is terrible.
I'll just say we need cops who know jujitsu, because right there he was in full guard and had no idea what to do. and the guy gets away.
And I'm sorry, but that cop looks like he's kind of physically fit. I think it's probably his vest he has on that's so strong and like keeping him bulky, not strong, bulky. But the guy can't run. If you're a police, you need to be able to run fast. He was just. Do you think Mr. Respectfully Popo got the pepper spray in his eyes?
Maybe.
Because it seems like maybe that's what happened. I mean, because have you ever been pepper sprayed?
I never have.
So once we were at a family dinner and Emmy or I had a pepper spray. I think it was Emmy's pepper spray. And all of a sudden we're like coughing, our eyes burned. A young Will Shaver released pepper spray. And he sprayed it over the dinner table, but we didn't realize what had happened.
Oh, no.
I think Mr. Policeman from Cincinnati got pepper spray in his own eyes, and that was helping him because that's the only reason he would be stumbling around.
Yeah, maybe he did. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I hope so.
It does make you, if you're watching that in Cincinnati, you don't feel real safe. I'll just say that.
Well, I would also like to tell you that, well, there's some good news. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good news. This is from Not the Bee. This is just the headline. Disney just ditched gender neutral greetings for the classic ladies and gentlemen. This is great news. If my granddaughter's listening, I promise we are going to go to Disney World, just not this year. But Disney has decided to quietly, without fanfare, put just a tiny bit of the woke away. I mean, sure, they've alienated millions of families in favor of other families, but they finally have accepted realities. Here's what the Park Place says with the latest update. Have you been exhausted by cast members referring to you as friend or unable to say the word sir or ma'am? Yes. If so, don't thank the Phoenicians. Thank Bob Iger in a very strange moment in time in which Disney decided to go all in on divisive language edicts at their parks. But now that it finally appears to be coming to an end. They have decided to quietly restore gendered language, such as ladies and gentlemen, to announcements, attraction spiels, and perhaps cast member training.
How about that?
It's good.
Disney, maybe I can go back. Part of the reason we haven't been yet with our darling dumpling grandchildren is because you got weird. And you made it real weird. Because your tribe are just, families wanting to have a good time. And we don't want you to make it weird and say they, them, whatever else. I can't even invent gender neutral language because there's no such thing. Thank you for getting back to reality.
So you've been to Disney World? When was the last time you went?
We used to go a lot when I was a child. Then we went when the kids were younger. On Emmy's 16th birthday was probably the last time we've been. And then my dumpling Rosie heard me mention going to Disney World, and she has been asking since then. So I want May to get a little old. Like next year would be fun.
We went one time when I was like 10.
Should we take a field trip?
I would not want to go to Disney World as an adult because it was fun when I was a kid. I will say this though, my sister and I. So she's 2 years younger than me. She was like 8. The first roller coaster we rode at Disney World was Rock and Roller Coaster.
Oh.
She did not ride another roller coaster the rest of the trip there.
Oh, it's a good thing she didn't do Space Mountain.
So we did Rock and Roller Coaster and then Tower of Terror next.
Oh, no, you didn't.
We get to the top of Tower of Terror and she's still like recovering from Rock and Roller Coaster. We get to the top, like we're about to get on, and she's like, she had to go back down. And me and my dad had to ride.
Aww.
So the rest of the trip was me and my dad riding all the roller coasters together.
And your sweet sister standing at the bottom going,
yeah. But I don't know. It's good. This is one of those things, though, where truth is at the center of it, because these kids, if they feel like they can't express truth of saying sir and gentlemen or ladies, and it's all friend, then that's they're so impressionable. That goes a long way. So coming back to truth, just like I were talking about earlier.
That's good. That's good, JP. That was really good. Okay, tomorrow's Freedom Friday. I don't even know what kind of merriment and mayhem we'll get into, but you can count on the fact that there will be some. Sinclair will be back. There's going to be Clown World. There's going to be JP on Sports. I don't even know. Do we have anybody coming in? I can't remember. But it is going to be a great day. We look forward to hearing from you, your comments, your thoughts, your ideas. But for now, we will see you tomorrow on the right side.